Hello and welcome to I Don't Get It, the pop culture get off my lawn cast. This features the open-minded musings of two early 50s curmudgeons, each staring down the prospect simultaneously at the same time of entertainment relevance. I'm your co-host, Bill Scurry of America Caesar Enterprises, which is a small family-owned tailor, especially in those loose-sleeved robes of wizards. But not the pointy hats, because we are not a goddamn haberdashery.
You only make the robe, the wizard robes.
You got to go to the guy down the road for the hat, if that's what you're looking for.
So, if I'm a wizard, I want to get in the wizard business, right?
Okay.
Step one, learn magic. Right?
Okay. Grow a beard. Maybe
one,
grow a
right?
beard is step one.
Well, then that's coming later. Learn magic, grow a beard.
Yeah.
Get a crystal ball and a wand.
A wand, very important.
Do you buy the hat or the robe first?
Personally, I think I'd get the robe first. We make a very good
I know.
robe.
Well, look, you're biased. Now, you're not a haberdasher, but I assume you can recommend haberdashers that you know are credible places to get a matching hat, right?
That's the haberdasher I wouldn't go to if you paid me.
The wizard haberdasher has a harder job because he's got to glue the little moons and stars onto the hat.
I wonder what
you have no such thing. You don't have to do appliques or anything like that.
I'm really curious where the moons and stars came from. What is that motif all about? That it's just something that we've kind of assumed now is what wizards would wear.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know the theory? Not quite wizards, but witches. I learned this in Hebrew school when I was a kid. That the stereotypical witch started as an anti-Semitic trope.
Not sure. It was sort of vampire. None of those.
I never heard that.
Oh yeah.
But that witches, think of like Hasids, especially in the Middle Ages, wearing the black, the big nose, right? The hat, the black hat.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that makes total sense.
Not surprised, not one bit. Exactly.
Sorry to be grim and negative. We're having fun joking about wizards.
It's a national epidemic. It's a real problem you have to watch out for.
You know who I feel sorry for? I knew a guy in college named Merlin. That's got to be a rough name.
That was Merlon, I assume.
No, Lin, like Merlin.
Wow, that's bold. That's a
like
bold
your parents
choice.
are really setting you up for something when they're naming you Merlin.
Yeah, my God, it's like naming your kid Hannibal or
It's like naming your kid Jeeves.
Yeah,
he's probably going to become a butler. Okay, my name is Noah Tarnow. I'm the founder and the senior quizmaster of the Big Quiz Thing, the Trivia Game Show Spectacular. I like names, name trivia. You know, one of my favorite trivia questions about baby names.
You have a bunch. I know. I can't think specifically which ones you mean, but yeah.
The only two names in the top 1,000 for baby girls that are also the names of states, U.S. states.
Right, Virginia and Georgia, right?
Very good. Yes.
There you go.
One of the things I like about that question is people think it's some new idiots naming their babies Arizona or Montana.
Well, Dakota, that's a very popular one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There is no state called Dakota.
Well, no, that's the one in between North and South Dakota.
Do you know there was a push a few years ago, North Dakota, to rename itself Dakota because they thought the North just made people think they were a frozen wasteland? I mean, North Dakota doesn't have a lot going for it. It doesn't have Mount Rushmore. I went there once. The people were super nice, but other than that, there's not.
I like East Virginia. I think we need more Virginias. Is my thing.
We need more Virginias.
Yeah.
I think based on West Virginia, we do not need more.
Central Virginia sounds like a good start. I think we can get there.
Northwest Virginia. You know how Portland, Oregon got its name, right?
Yeah, from the Portland in Maine, right? It was named after
That's
Portland,
right.
Maine. I believe so.
That's right. The founders of Portland, Oregon. One was from Portland, Maine. One was from Boston. And they flipped a coin to see who could name it after their hometown. And the Portland guy won. However, if the Boston guy had won, because Boston was such more a dominant city at the time, they thought there can't be another Boston. It was going to be West Boston, Oregon.
There you go.
Instead we get Portland, Oregon. And now Portland, Oregon is bigger than Portland, Maine.
I'm going to pivot to our topic this week, Noah.
Are you?
And what we do on this show.
We're on a roll, man. I'm caffeinated. I'm on no sleep, but heavy caffeine. That's what's going on with me.
I don't think anybody can tell. You're doing a good job of covering that up.
This is normal me. If you don't know me, this is normal.
So we like to talk about something that's hot and happening, something the kids are talking about. And that's exactly what we're not doing.
So we're talking about a 62-year-old man today,
this is something we're not doing this week because it is not at all trending. It is a thing we've had on our docket list for a while in terms of, I think, a steady popularity. Yes, the shadow docket of the I Don't Get It shadow docket.
Our estimated ETA of arrival.
We've been thinking about this man for a while, I proffered him forward our
Thinking about
topic.
him.
As a topic, I'm saying I proffered Rick Beato as a topic a couple of months ago, and I noticed that this is a guy on YouTube who sort of has some level of renown, and it's been a very steady creep, and it is to some degree not really in either of our wheelhouses, not our métier. I mean,
that.
we like to talk about music, but it's like he does it from almost like, in many ways, it's a sort of music theory, which is not something I generally have anything. I did not have anything to do with until Rick Beato kind of like showed me that maybe this is something, not ever having studied music composition, music theory, playing an instrument a day in my life. Perhaps this is something that is interesting in some way if you make it interesting. So I pitched it, and I think Noah's experience with it was, well, he'll tell you about it in a little while. But first, to fill you in on the 911, as the kids say, about Rick Beato. So Rick Beato, if you're not already aware, he was born on April 24, 1962. He's a YouTuber, but based on the fact that he's a multi-instrumentalist, a music producer, and he's an educator. Since the early 80s, he's worked variously as a songwriter, musician, engineer, record producer, really in the business, deep in the business as like a session guy. And then
this business of show.
As a sideline, he's been lecturing at universities on music theory and composition and things like that. So he studied at Ithaca College. Actually, some podcasters, the iFanboy guys come from Ithaca College as well. That's where they met.
Our buddy Adam Starling went to Ithaca.
Oh, really? Not to Cornell, but Ithaca.
Ithaca College.
Yes. Yeah,
not Cornell in Ithaca, New York, but Ithaca College.
Yeah, and Beato I think he's a Rochester guy, so he's from Rochester, New York. Yeah, he's like local to that area. I mean, Ithaca is not like, I think it's 2 hours away, but it's still closer than it is here.
My geography of upstate New York is pitiful. Yes.
So he has a BA in classical bass, and I wonder, I guess that's stand up. I couldn't quite find out what it is. I know he plays pretty much every instrument, but I think it was a bull fiddle, as Jack Lemmon says.
He started with cello as a kid, then he moved to bass guitar, and then he moved to guitar, and he's just one of those guys.
So he has a master's in jazz guitar from the New England Conservatory of Music. He got that in 1987. So he currently these days owns and operates Black Dog Sound Studios down in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And you may have, if you're me, Stone Mountain, Georgia, because of the big fucking thing carved into the side of a mountain over there. Insane.
What's the other thing? I wonder if there's something else I associate with Stone Mountain. I wonder if you associate it.
Yeah, that's where Childish Gambino's from. On top of that, too.
Really, he is? Oh, I didn't know that.
That's where he was born.
That's not what I associate.
Oh, what do you associate with Stone Mountain?
It's where Jake the Snake Roberts was from.
Oh, look at this. So it's like 3 points of access here. Pick
exactly.
and choose.
You got racist Confederates, Childish Gambino, and WWF legend Jake the Snake Roberts.
Hollowed out by the skin of his teeth after that documentary. Anyway,
that guy is still alive.
He's still alive.
All 90% of the wrestlers from the 80s glory days are dead, but Jake Roberts, who probably did enough cocaine to kill the army of Genghis Khan, is still with us.
So anyway, Beato has produced for and worked in the studio with bands. I have a list here: Need to Breathe, Parmalee, Shinedown. These things look like Boggle names to me. I have no idea who these are.
I've heard of these bands. I couldn't name a single song by any.
Exactly. However, though, this is the business end. The business end of this topic is the YouTube channel. He's got the legit bona fides, as we like to say, to talk about music. But the YouTube channel is where I think his cultural significance comes from. He covers different aspects of rock, jazz, blues, electronica, rap, pop music, classical. He conducts interviews with musicians and producers. Big ones, long ones, substantial ones. And this is
talk to a lot of big people, but mostly people from the classic rock.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah, it's definitely heavy on that kind of thing too. However, it's like the numbers are good. It's like, also just to add some scale to this, he's got 5.64 million subscribers. He's got nearly 2 billion views. And like Noah's intimating, for like an unk-coated 64-year-old white-haired guy who kind of looks like a little bit of a rockabilly dude, that's pretty impressive numbers. He's like playing the big boys game, and he's doing pretty good at it. Mostly without sponsors too. It's like this is his own shop. He's got a decent budget. He's got good production values, high quality of what he puts out in the world. And again, it's like this is all based on people. Granted, he's shaking down Taylor Swift songs and But he's also talking about like music theory. He's talking about like chord structure, and fucking people are tuning in. I'm tuning in for this shit. Anyway, Noah, what did you get out of it from dipping into the topic?
So I had vaguely heard of this guy, and I jumped in and I got sucked in a bit. I consider myself a music geek. I've never been adept at playing music, although I do enjoy singing, and I think I'm a slightly better than average singer.
But you were critic adjacent for a long while too.
Well, this is relevant to our topic today. My intention when I graduated college was to be a pop music critic, and I tried that for 2 years. And I mean, my main problem was I was a terrible interviewer, and that was the skill that was more demanded than being a weirdo who sat in his basement and reviewed records, which is what I really wanted to do. But even that, I think I did not have the skills needed to carry a career, although I think I had something, and frankly I think I still might have something in the future. That's not we'll get to that later. Look, he's got his musical tastes are pretty expansive. I think he gives credit where it's due. He was praising the pop songs on K-pop Demon Hunters, right? But he is mainly a guy in the interviews he does are with Sting. I watched 2 interviews, Sting and Geddy Lee. He also interviews the other members of the Police. He also interviews Alex Lifeson from Rush.
Dave Gilmour. Dave fucking Gilmour.
He interviewed
man.
David Gilmour. He interviewed, I saw Scuttlebutt online that he's trying to get an interview with Paul McCartney. So he gets some pretty damn big names. And then he'll do these videos like the 10 greatest, I watched a few of these, the 10 greatest keyboard intros of all time. And he has this professional keyboard player play them. And they're all rock songs, the 10 greatest, well, this pissed me off. The 20 greatest one-hit wonders of the 80s, most of them were not one-hit wonders. I will get to that. He's pretty entertaining and accessible. His love is infectious. He plays a song, he grooves to it, he gets to it. So yes, there is a pointy-headed element to it, talking about music theory and all that, but you see that this is a guy who is passionate about music, and you don't need to approach it from that musical theory perspective to learn to love something because of him, to appreciate his love, or his love to rub off on you. It's very appealing when he's grooving to a song. I've seen him groove to 80s pop hits, and I've seen him groove to Brahms, and that shows that is a very appealing type of person, someone who can show what these types of music have in common, that they stir the soul, from in one way of putting it. And from my point of view, I read some stuff on Reddit, people complaining he's pretentious. I don't think he's very pretentious. He made an interesting video recently. There was this article in the New York Times about a bunch of critics were determining the 20 or something greatest living American songwriters.
John Caramonica, those guys took a lot of shit for that list. Yeah.
Well, he pissed all over it. I think he had 2 big reasons. One was, but he's not nasty. When he pisses all over things, he's not nasty. One was they were all, Ivy League educated, English theory critics. None of them had studied music theory. And he accepts that, you don't need to have studied music theory to be a music critic. I never studied music. Well, I wasn't a great music critic. But he thinks if you're going to have a panel of some people, you need someone who approaches it from that level. And I would absolutely agree. He also really punctured. They did some response, these New York Times people, why they didn't put Billy Joel on the list. And their responses were, because Billy Joel sucks, basically. And it's so cliche at this point to say Billy Joel sucks. And I get it why you think Billy Joel's an asshole, but top 20 greatest living
doesn't
American
mean he sucks.
I think he's a lock. Wouldn't you put him on that list?
Yeah, I too. I have a Long Island ambivalence about it because it makes me think of the kind of parochial nature of Long Island. But I
get it. I don't blame anyone for disliking Billy Joel.
No, but I will hand it to you for that reason. Like you said, get out of that mentality, and I think that the art speaks for itself.
Exactly, the art speaks for itself. Very well put. He's a good interviewer. The Sting interview is really interesting because at the beginning you see Sting. You could almost read it on. He talks to these guys for like an hour. You could almost read it on Sting's face. He's like, I don't know who this guy is, but my manager told me this will be good. I'll just sit and talk about music for an hour. And you see Sting come out of his shell. And you almost see this turn. He's like, oh, this guy really knows his stuff. The guy's a huge Police fan. It's very clear. but he really sees that Beato like knows music on the same level that Sting does. I mean, Sting's pretentious as fuck, but I think it's a pretension that serves the music. Sting's one of these people, like, he didn't become a rock star to get laid. I mean, maybe he did, but like, he loves music. He's a musician, right? I love that interview because he does the best explanation I've ever heard of his transition from the Police to solo. Like, why did the Police break up at their peak? You know, they were the biggest band in the world when they broke up. Because he wanted to do other things that he thought weren't appropriate for the Police. And the way he explained it was really elucidating and made a ton of sense. And Beato brought that out in him. I think Beato's a very good interviewer. He gives these guys space. And also, that's one of the tools of doing YouTube videos. You can just chat with Geddy Lee for an hour about, you know, the sequence of Rush albums.
It's very decompressed. It's so nice to to listen to David Gilmour talk about guitar chords in such a way that makes him super comfortable. It's a real difference.
This is one of the gifts, although it's a double-edged sword of the internet, is that you don't have to edit so much, right? Like in the old days, if you wanted to interview Sting, it would be at best a 5-page article in the magazine or a 20-minute segment on 60 Minutes or something like that, right? And then I got to say this too. There's a lot of I read a lot of the comments on his videos, and he seems to inspire some very polite and thoughtful discourse. Even that video where he goes through I watched 20 greatest one-hit wonder of the 80s and 20 greatest one-hit wonder of the 90s. And people are commenting like, this guy's not really, I'll get to that. This guy's not really a one-hit wonder. You should have included this. You should have included that. No one's nasty. Everyone's respectful. And anyone who brings that out of commentary on the internet gets a thumbs up from me. But if I'm going to nitpick, and that's what I'm here to do, there are some details that bother me. First of all, I'm sorry. I'm the trivia nerd. One-hit wonders, half of those people weren't one-hit wonders. Madness, I mean, forget how big they were in England, was not a one-hit wonder. They had 2 hits. Men Without Hats had 2 giant hits in the U.S., okay? Pop Goes the World was just slightly less successful than Safety Dance. Tommy Two-Tone had another hit. Flock of Seagulls had a bunch of hits. That's ridiculous. And also, that video bothered me because it's like the top 20 one-hit wonders. What do you mean top 20? Your favorites? The ones with the most staying power?
Look, man, that video is clickbait because that's like one of his highest rated videos. You know what I mean?
He doesn't say, he plays a clip of it. He grooves to it, and that's very appealing watching him groove to it because he really sees appreciation, but that's all. So, like, I guess he's more appealing than most jerk-offs who make these little videos just expressing their opinion, and you're wondering, like, well, why do I care about your opinion? But I don't know. I want to know, what do you mean by top 20? I know you have the capacity to say more, and I know you have the capacity to say it in a way that someone who doesn't know music theory would understand. Like, I think Safety, even though it's not a one-hit wonder, I think Safety Dance is one of the top one-hit wonders of the 80s because it struck a chord in a moment, or listen to these great lyrics. Safety Dance, great lyrics, sure. That's one thing. 2, he does some videos where he just talks to the camera, and those are very low rent compared to his other videos. He rambles. He doesn't get to the point. He mutters and stumbles and clearly hasn't thought about what he's saying in advance, and makes personal comments that just make me sit and go, why should I care? I guess he's bought that latitude, and clearly people find it interesting because those have tons of views as well. But I look at that, and that's what I hate about YouTube, is the people who just blurt their everyday lives and expect the world to care. And I hate that people do care. I know that's the coin of the realm on social media, but it rubs me the wrong way. As you said, the headlines, a lot of the headlines are clickbaity. I mean, there's literally a video goes, music sucks today. And it's a picture of him screaming, and you click on it and he's talking about the top 10 and he has nice things to say about everything. So that's ridiculous. And then maybe this has received wisdom because this occurred to me from reading people commenting on him on Reddit, but there are a lot of people there who describe him as a pretentious boomer, who see a lot of pretension in him. There's one argument they were talking about I thought was very interesting, where he has his opinions about songwriting. And he says that what passes for modern pop songwriting, he does not consider songwriting. He considers more arranging. He glances a skeptical eye at any song that has like 8 writers, which many pop songs do now because it samples this and this was added by this producer and that was added by that producer, and you had the extra writer come in and all that. He sees that more as arranging, and he thinks writing is a guy or a small group of people in a room with guitars hashing something out. Now, yes, and that is how a classic rock, I hate these definitions, but I guess a boomer, guy like that would think, and that's a lot who I am, even though I'm not, thank God I'm not a boomer. So I am sympathetic to that view that he's a bit pretentious, that he's a bit pointy-headed. But I find these videos very entertaining. I find him to be, on the whole, a very likable guy. So I like this quite a bit.
I have pointy-headed written in my notes here later, too. Funny you should say
pointy-headed.
Yeah, I like that, right?
It should have a hyphen in it. Pointy-headed.
I'll get back to you on that. I did mention that I brought him to the table. I was the one that wanted to talk to him. And it's like you asked me how did it get to me? I mean, that really was a good question. I was like trying to figure out, how the hell did it get to me? I just assumed that the YouTube algo shot it in front of me because I fucking watched Oh Sherry a bunch of times. But
I heard it in the supermarket the other day. They played Oh Sherry in the supermarket.
Yeah, but it's like who hasn't played the video for separate ways? And it's like, am I going to get served a middle-aged guy talking about Steely Dan songs because I watched Journey clips? I mean, maybe that's the chain of title. Maybe that's how it happened. I don't know. But it's like, imagine.
Yes, it is exactly what
you're
happens.
Right. It kind of is. But it's like, imagine my surprise to find out that then the guy, what I just thought was like, oh, okay, I'll just watch this guy named Rick Beato, like you were saying before it went hot. It's like not knowing how his name was. It's like, who the hell's Rick Beato? Okay, we'll do this. The guy's got big numbers, and he got to as a crossover hit. He was appealing to know nothings like me. He appeals to classic rock dads, exactly what he looks like, and music nerds, which is also, I think, the meat of his channel is really getting into theory and taxonomy and things that I just never considered before, or I don't have a vocabulary for that. So across the two channels, the live streams he puts together maybe once every 2 weeks or so. It's an event where people tune in and listen to watch him, and like he dashes off questions. He's very audience interaction based too. He plays a good game in terms of like cultivating the audience, not just sending it out, but he has a whole curriculum built up on learning music by ear.
He sells a lot of Beato curriculum, and he publishes books. And I did read comments that stuff is more hype than anything else, but I don't know.
Well, in spite of it,
your mileage might vary.
There's not ads for fucking Groons or some company. It's like at least he's advertising his own stuff and making money the old-fashioned.
Fucking Groons, don't buy Groons.
I'm not buying Groons. So
I tried Groons. They taste delicious. They do nothing for you.
Yeah, the interviews I think are kind of they are wind up being big gets in pop music, and I think that it is a combination of classic rock boomers and extras like us, but I also think that kids who dip into this stuff based on Spotify.
Some kids are really into classic rock.
That's what I'm saying. The Spotify generation has made it like it's possible you will have heard "Hungry Like a Wolf," and if he's going to talk about Nick Rhodes's, or is it Andy Taylor's bass line?
Song,
Nick Rhodes' bass
"Hungry Like a Wolf." I just heard yesterday. That song is so.
I'm saying it's great. But here's the thing: as a know-nothing like me, I love music, but I have zero grammar to describe what I'm hearing. I don't know what an arpeggio is. I don't know what a glissando is. The basic terms of music. I know that they exist. I barely know what the difference between a sharp note and a flat note is. Again, they're things. I don't know what they are. But it's like he cuts music theory into bite-sized pieces. And, he can talk about why a Sabrina Carpenter song is facile. And when he does it, it feels academic. It doesn't feel hurtful. It doesn't feel cruel. It sort of encouraged me to watch countless other videos on other channels about bass guitar, about drum theory, from guys who are in a similar lane. And it's like, I don't know what it is in the water. I'm assuming that this is a phenomenon that as long as there's been a YouTube, there have been channels. If you want to look up guys who know how to play the dulcimer, there must be like a dulcimer corner of dulcimer talk, right?
It's how people learn about music now is YouTube. It's how people learn to play. They just watch videos.
There's a new Sabrina Carpenter song out called Man Child. Now, before you click off the video, because I'm going to talk about a contemporary song, this video is actually going to be about how the music business works.
Why has Rick Beato, I read when he started this about 10 years ago, it was on a whim. He said like, oh, why is anyone going to care about this old guy? Blah, 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 blah. And the thing took off. Apparently the thing that really first broke him. Did you watch the video? He brings his son on and his son displayed his son.
His perfect pitch or something like
pitch.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I read about it. So it took him by surprise, apparently. Why do you think it caught on?
Well, I think that Beato is a universal decoder for music who doesn't stay contained to one lane. He's got a vast breadth of experience. You know, that's like you said. Talks about Brahms. You know, he will incorporate Bach and Liszt as often as he will Jimmy Page and Chick Corea. You know, it's like he kind of
likes jazz a lot. He does like jazz a lot.
Right, exactly. I mean that's a very music
That's
nerd
such a music nerd thing to like.
Exactly. But no, that's fine.
I could never get into jazz.
But it's like if you tell me that, it's like just like if you say you're a film freak and you start talking about Tarkovsky and like these guys, it's like, okay, I get it. That establishes your bona fides that you know the basic food group. You've done film school. I understand. But he uses all these things to elucidate music without coming across as a nerd. Or at least he comes across as sort of the kind of nerd you want, or at least the sort of nerd who I have a chemistry with. That's what I like about it.
Or a nerd who's not going, you're stupid for not knowing.
You're not a hater, precisely. Yeah. You know, his YouTube channel is I think of it like again, being old men now, I look back at our college experiences, and it's like he comes across kind of like the best sophomore year teacher that I could have hoped for, right? He gives me an appreciation for the application of theory. And he doesn't get bored. He doesn't get lost in the weeds. He's got enthusiasm, and it makes me, it's like, oh yeah, when you talk about Faulkner, I get why Faulkner's on the curriculum. If I'm just going to read Faulkner, I'm not going to get it unless you explain to me why William Faulkner is that important.
That's what a good teacher does, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why, you know, he makes a great case for the return of the pop intellectual too. This is sort of my last point. This is the pointy-headed thing too. The people who have pointy-headed expertise, what they do is they kind of make culture more solid by their inclusion. And I really miss that idea that, or at least I miss because we didn't know where to look, that I'm sure YouTube has a lot of pop culture intellectuals who are cruising in their own lanes, but they're not on the Mike Douglas show anymore. They're not on Johnny Carson like they would have been in 1986. Where
they might go on Jimmy Fallon, but instead they just lip sync with him.
They play childhood instruments.
Yes,
Yeah, some bullshit like that.
I mean, why? He's likable and accessible. I think he, almost unexplainable. You just like the guy and you get it. Like you said, very accessible. He boils the stuff down for dummies or semi-dummies like me. As I said before, music has changed. YouTube is how you learn about music more than, when we were kids. How do we learn about music? MTV, Rolling Stone, talking about it on the playground. I think YouTube and other social medias are really the way people process music now, which is partly why old music still has traction among kids, because it's so easily accessible. We learned about music through the radio. And, I listened to classic rock and oldies when I was a kid, but I was a bit of a weirdo, right? Also, new music sucked when we were discovering rock and roll. One thing that the internet has done for society, for both good and ill, is it lets the nerds find each other. So there's a lot of opportunities for people who are into it on this sort of semi-intellectual or wholly intellectual level to kind of gather. So there's going to be someone online who's talking about these things, who's dealing in the world of these things, who is going to catch on, because the hunger is out there, and it turns to the internet as every subgroup does. And they would have found something sooner or later, and Rick Beato was right place, right time, and I guess right tools. And then sort of connected to that is like, look, people like us, we're older, pop culture irrelevance. It's kind of what the show is about. So we want a place to go where they're talking our language, right? We want the videos where they're interviewing guys from our favorite bands, Rush, The Police, Pink Floyd. Although I don't like Pink Floyd that much. You love Pink Floyd. The Beatles, maybe. Who else has he interviewed? Some really big people. I'm forgetting some.
I think of the ones I've listened to. Like he talked to Maynard Keenan from Tool.
Yes,
he talked to Mohini Day, the bassist. He talked to Les Claypool.
People really like Les Claypool one for Primus.
It was a really good interview.
Yeah. No, he's a good interview. Yeah. So anyway, it's a world that us and some people even younger than us, feel like we've been left behind by pop culture, right? Oh, he does a good interview with Billy Corgan. So, when someone offers us something that speaks to us, sometimes it can feel like that's few and far between, even though it's not. So, of course, we're going to give it a look. And if we like it and it scratches that itch, we will come back. He does a great interview with Rick Rubin. I'm just looking at his interviews now. Yeah, these are clickbait headlines. I'm so sick of this AI shit.
That's fine. That's thumbnail. That's thumbnail game. That's what they do. That's all there is to it.
So I don't know. Right place, right time, right tools. There's a lot that would make this have some traction in the world of popular culture.
In this video, I'm going to count down my top 20 acoustic guitar intros of all time.
God damn it, Noah. Would you have liked this as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I'd be all over this dude. I mean, again, who knows what kind of music I would be into if I were a kid now, but like you said, I was trying to be a music critic. By the time I got to high school, I fancied myself a student of music history. I had taken piano lessons. I was terrible at that. I could never pick up on the theory element. And, so I never had the technical skill. I was curious about it from the artist's point of view. And I did try to get a layman's understanding of music itself. There were many things that went over my head. I even watched a video where he talks about modes, the Dorian mode, things like that. I still have no idea what the fuck that means. He talks about that with Sting. But I did consider music as an art, as a craft, and he sees it that way too. So I think he might have pushed, I had trouble learning those elements of music. And I think I might have come farther along if there had been a Rick Beato out there, because he could have kind of held my hand into that, right? Also, he's just enough pretension to feed into how pretentious I was more pretentious than he comes off, but, we were still in the same ballpark in terms of pretension. So I think he really would have spoken to the young me, the budding rock geek, hoping to be a rock critic me.
Now, I'm a maybe on this one just because I was trying to think it out a little bit. Where would I have been younger about this sort of thing? My relationship with music is much different. I think we talked last week about how I didn't cultivate a taste until I was almost ready to own a car and have a tape deck. And that's when I started buying music for the most part in a vehicle. So the old man version of me has become more interested in topics that the young me would have considered dry, which I think music theory actually would have been one of them. I just don't know if I would have the time or the patience to sit here, have someone talk about the Dorian mode and at least give it some time to understand what it meant, why it might be fascinating, even if I was never going to play it myself. But I also think there's something compelling about his friendly mien, and the passion which he wants you to connect with the music that he loves. This great art and this love of his life, that he does professionally. And it's clear that he's not gone, his love of music hasn't gone fallow. He just sort of I know it's a business and it's difficult to make your business your passion and make your passion your way of life that you're earning out on and stuff like that. And but it says a lot that he kind of keeps his, he keeps his enthusiasm. And I maybe thinking about what the kid in me would have wanted to see. It's the hours he spent talking to each member of the police individually, Copeland, Summer, and Gordon Sumner. Sting to the rest of you guys. That. Well,
it's always confusing. The guitarist is Andy Summers, and Sting's real last name is Sumner. Which exactly. I think has tripped people up.
That is definitely something in 92 when I was 17 years old. That's the way you would have gotten me, because I too was just obsessed with Synchronicity and Ghost of the Machine that era.
Great record. See, I like their earlier stuff better. I like when they had more of a punky edge.
So I've been on this kick lately about music becoming less and less complex over the last, 30 years, 40 years or so. And I keep thinking, what is the most complicated song that I've ever played that's a pop song?
In any way, is the rise of Rick Beato a sign of the apocalypse?
I'm going to pivot back. This is a simple one for me. I'm going to pivot back to the idea that Beato was a kind of return to the idea of the pop intellectual savant. And I mean, I'm not going to say he's one for one, but it does make me think of Carl Sagan, James Baldwin, the Amazing Randy. These people who were, they were just sort of.
Speaking of wizard hats.
Yeah, but in the best way possible,
Yes.
These people were kind of just
pointy-headed magicians. We're back to wizards now, right?
That's true.
And their hats.
Yeah. These guys, and I say guys, I just mentioned three guys. There's more than that, but you get the point. Is that these people were fleet in their own writing, in their theory, but then they were also exactly as fleet of foot in front of Dick Cavett. You know what I'm saying? They were adding import to their words by speaking cogently, magnificently, charmingly, with a degree of elegance. They really sounded like Carl Sagan, was this man who was the chief architect of astronomy, and like he was a college professor at Cornell, I think.
He was a household name.
He was a household name, exactly.
Yeah.
And he wrote Cosmos, and he produced the TV show, which holds up to this day. It's still a fascinating.
He wrote for Cosmo? He wrote sex tips
Cosmo,
for
exactly.
women in their 20s?
How to please the Horsehead Nebula, exactly. Anyway.
50. It's got to be a number. It's got to be a list with a number. 50 tips on how to please blah, blah, blah.
So short answer, no. He's not a signing Broncos. What about you?
No. I mean, look, I want to nitpick about the amateurishness of some of the videos and when the ones he rambles, but come on, just as many of those are very well thought out and very smart. So that feels a little churlish on my part. Also, the amateur videos on YouTube, that ship has sailed. They're always going to be there. At least this guy is also doing non-amateurish videos, or at least when he talks in a way that feels off the cuff and boring and pointless to me, at least he's recording it on a good camera, right? I like that he seems to be encouraging intelligent, not nasty discourse. That's something the internet needs more of. And hey, as we are threatened with AI destroying all creative arts, it is very important to still view music as an art, as a craft, as a personal expression. I really fear for a world where music is considered something a freaking robot does. How sad a species will we be if music doesn't come from the heart?
This first piano concerto, the second movement is an adagio. The concerto is in D minor, but this particular movement is in D major, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Noah, to finish the show off, all we need to do is talk about our last two segments of jealousy and our ranking on the scale, Fallonian scale. The XYZ axis named after Jimmy Fallon, James Aloysius Crenshaw Fallon. What kind of jealousy did this inspire you to do this week?
Like I said, I tried to be a music critic, and I have thoughts about popular music, and no one's much cared about my thoughts. So, jealous of that. I do wish my music geekery was appreciated. I wish I could play guitar, man. I wish I could play a lot of instruments, but I really wish I could play guitar. I mean, one of my number one fantasies is that I was a guitar player in a rock band.
Shredding it out, ripping it up. That's what you wanted to do.
Well, not even shredding, but like writing songs on guitar and, I don't know. I tried so many times and my brain doesn't go that way, and I guess if I had powered through, I would have learned something, but I did take guitar lessons and they bored the crap out of me. So yeah, it just wasn't in the cards for me. And I wish I had that, facility with musical instruments that some people just naturally do. And I took piano lessons for years and I was terrible at that. And I just wish more people cared about I wish more people cared about my stupid musings, but that's probably something that once you're in the thick of that, you really regret it. Like, I'm sure super famous people are like, oh my God, like, why do you give a shit? Right?
Yeah, Tina Fey's done with people talking about her legacy. She doesn't need that in her life anymore. I'm sure of it.
Probably not. Yeah. So I don't know. Sure, I'm jealous. Why not?
Well, no, when I was listening to Jeffrey Downs' keyboard solos on Asia and Yes Records when I was younger, I had fantasies of what it would be like to make those sounds arise from a fingerboard, a Korg organ, a Hammond organ, a Moog synthesizer, right? Or even just a Fairlight piano. Just having that enthusiasm of that, the mystical nature of the sounds hitting me. And I thought, like, boy, could I learn to play those instruments too? It's exactly your feeling with guitar. I'm just like looking at some of the greatest savants, the doers of that sound, and thinking, I would love to have the power of moving my hands in such a way that creates those sounds.
Sure.
So, but if you take into account that I have zero ear for tone, cannot get my fingers to move in any way, shape, or form, and never could in any way I wanted to like them, my relationship with making music is absolutely stillborn. It was a baby. It was immediately consecrated to a grave. This is a skill.
You always go for the darkest metaphor, man.
Baby shoes never worn. Look, this is a skill I wish I had. Beato puts we closer to what it's like to make the art ourselves. And it kind of, I think that it's not a side effect, or it is a side effect, but it's one of good consequence, where it kind of puts you in the shoes of like, what would it be like if you had to think about making a Steely Dan song like what is it? Asia, the title track off of Steely Dan. All those choices. It's like to think is like, oh man, somebody went through this song, and every single one of those notes had to be synthesized by humans and played over and over again in such a way to create this incredible music. Sometimes I just think of it as like, oh, this was wholly punctuated by the universe. These songs came out of out of a wormhole and they were just given to us. It's like, no, every single femtosecond of the song was agonized over by artists and built minute by minute. It's like, that's amazing sometimes to think about that. It's pretty wild. All right. So where would you rank him, Noah, on our rankage?
Rankage?
Our rankage of ranks. Our rank
well, I
best.
started with the last semi-boomer, a little younger, who, had the risk of extending the toxic masculinity of the internet into dangerous areas. I went with Scott Galloway, who, by the way, I've grown to really like. I'm a regular listener of him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think he makes a lot. I don't agree 100% with what he says, but I agree with most of what he says. It's older guy telling it like it is, right? But obviously this is music and not politics. So then I thought classic rock. And do you remember we talked about Greta Van Fleet, which was like,
oh yeah, the Zeppelin
not a great
wannabe
band, but keeping the classic rock sound. I bet a lot of kids, I'm serious, I bet a lot of kids discovered Greta Van Fleet, said this shit's good, and that led them to Led Zeppelin, that led them to The Who, and that led them to, Rush and all that. So times 1/8 of Greta Van Fleet, plus, because he's more expansive than just the classic rock sound, 1/8 of your girl, Bill, Kate Bush.
Kate Bush, running up that hill with minor problems at this age now. In the knees, in the hips, the plantar fascia.
I ain't running up any hills these days.
Like I make a deal with God. I'll get into change our places. Yes. I'll sit down. You run up that hill, God. Okay.
Did I tell you this when we did that episode? Back when we were doing more public big quiz thing events, I had a theme for an audio round that was pain, and every song title referenced something
that hurt.
That was painful.
Yeah.
And I had Drop It While Like It's Hot. I can't remember what else, but I remember thinking running up that hill was one of them, and I thought that was very clever.
That's a good one. I'm going to rank this towards the vanguard of our topics. I think that was an easy shot for me. Also, that's kind of why I suggested we do it in the first place, because it's like an easy layup for us. It's like this guy's got rigor, he's got brawn, his experience as a musician, as a teacher over decades. Not at all like him, but it made me think in terms of just the sort of holistic goodness of e-bikes, which make the world a better place. Okay. It makes the world a better place by the merit of their invention, and it's a healthy thing to be on, and it encourages a good lifestyle, and it's generally an uplift for society and people who live amongst each other pleasantly. That's how I
think e-bikes are way better than this, dude.
Oh, I don't know. As an owner of an e-bike myself, I'm happy to have them both in my life. You know what I mean? And I could listen to him while I'm on my e-bike too, if you want to think of it that way.
You can. Many people have. You should. That would be good for you.
It's possible.
All right. Well, thanks for introducing me to Rick Beato. I'm digging this. Yeah. I think I'll probably visit a video of his again. No guarantees, but.
Well, that takes us to the end of the episode. And Noah, I will mention that, as you well know, we need to take a break next week. This is an expected break on account of the fact that I am relocating to the United States from Europe.
Welcome back, Bill. Great timing.
Coming back at the right time, exactly. Hopefully, I will get back to Holland in the near future. We're going to hold on to our place, but I will be living in America for a couple of I don't know. It's an open-ended deal, is what we're doing here.
Right. Well, you idolize James Brown. You live in America.
I live in America, Detroit City, Atlanta, and LA, except not those cities at all. Other cities entirely different. Yes.
Not living with a hernia, living in America.
Living with a hernia. But after that, I think it's going to be 2 weeks at maximum. I think it's just going to be a 1 week break. We'll get back to it once we're all set up. So in the meanwhile, if you want to find past episodes, look on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, GooglePlay. Skeet to us at noahandbillshow.bsky.social. Write to us, noahandbilldontgetit@gmail.com. Give us a review on the alligators. At BillScurry.bsky.social, at William Scurry on Twitter and Insta and all that good stuff. YouTube.com/AmCaesar is where the video is. And here, Noah is also, I don't believe this, Noah has an online presence as well. This must be a new thing since last week. I'll tell you
only 24 years of doing the Big Quiz Thing. BigQuizThing.com, America's premier provider of corporate and private live trivia events.
Oh, that's what you meant the whole time. I didn't realize
that's
it.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes,
okay, never mind.
That's what I done instead of having children. So learn about the finest in private and corporate trivia events nationwide. Having a busy summer, but nothing else to speak of. Just some plans in the works for another Rare Public event in San Francisco. I will announce that when the time comes. And I'm personally on Instagram at the Noah Tarnow.
All right, everybody. So until the next episode, where we find another silver-haired boomer guru who elucidates the theory behind macrame, we don't get it.
A production of American Caesar Enterprises 2026.